Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about my 2024 fantasy book reads that I loved. There is one book that I didn't really like the most, but other than that, let's get into it. So the first one I read was I started January with the ACOTAR series, and so this is A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second book. This was my personal favorite one. I know a lot of people think it's like overhyped or it like doesn't really hit the same as fantasy, but this is the book that got me back into fantasy. So I think I personally love it, and that's just my opinion, but whatever. This book is really just like, it's supposed to be enemies to lovers, but I feel like it wasn't really enemies to lovers, but still love the relationships and the different world building. Yeah, there is a love triangle in this book, but it was more ones. Like, I feel like after the first book, not a lot of people like the first book, myself included, but I think if you stick through it past the first book, you're gonna love the series as much as I do. It's also not a finished series. I think there's one or two more books, which is Asriel's books. So I'm really excited for those to come. Okay, next up, of course, Fourth Wing. Love this series. The third book comes out January 21st, I think. So I'm really excited for that. I need to reread this and the second book before then. But again, another controversial book. I really love this one. I loved the first book, but the second book was not my favorite. I feel like it was a lot of miscommunication and just going around in circles, and it just wasn't hitting the same as the first book did. So I'm really hoping the third book is more like geared towards the war that's happening and not as much romance drama. I feel like this book really had the romance wasn't as prominent in the first book as it was in the second one. So for the third book, it's Quicksilver by Callie, Hart. I don't have the physical copy of that book, but I absolutely loved that book. I read it a few months ago, so I'm really excited for the next book to come out. And that book is, I don't know how to like describe what happens in that book without giving it away, but morally gray main male character, love him, love the female character. Carrion Swift, side character, he's so funny. I feel like he really adds to the plot, and he's just so like funny, jealous. He makes the main male character jealous, so there's a lot of scenes with that that's kind of fun, but like not jealous in like an toxic way, like in like a funny like, ooh, what's he gonna do next kind of thing. It's a fated mates kind of vibe. I think it's gonna become a movie or a TV show. I can't remember which one, but I really hope they don't mess it up. Next series, I also don't have the physical copy of it, but it's the Auran Chronicles series. So the first book is Winter Gods and Serpents. This book, I wanted to love it so bad. I've heard so many good things about this series, and it just wasn't for me. I could not get through it. I went through the second book. I forgot what the second book's called, but the second book was a struggle. I only finished it because I had to know like why she hates the main character. That's like the male main character. And like I was just so upset with it. But yeah, I'm not going to continue that series. But if that's your vibe, I applaud you for it. And maybe you should like try it out. Maybe it's just me and I should give it another go. I don't know. I just feel like there was so much happening in the world building that I was so confused. There was different magic and I couldn't really follow through. There was so much miscommunication, so much. It's supposed to be enemies to lovers, but I feel like they would just go back and forth, and the female main character would just go back to him, but then get mad, and then they'd be fighting, and then they'd go back together. They would, it was a lot. He was also always in love with her. There was no enemies on his part. He was in love with her from the beginning. So, I don't know, do with that what you will, but it was a little funny at times. And what was the best friend's name? Caden? Kai? I think it's Kai. That character, probably my favorite character in the book, and he's like he's a subplot. He's not even a main character. That should tell you a lot. But no hate to the author. I just feel like it could have been paced differently, or just not as much back and forth between the two kind of thing. But it was still like good. Okay, and this final book is my favorite fantasy book that I read throughout this entire year. Like, I don't know, something about this book was just such a feel-good, like, fantasy, romantic kind of book. It's called Rise of the Cinder by Whitney Dean, I'm pretty sure. And I love this book so much. Okay, so it's basically a Cinderella retelling story. So there's the main character. It's there's two different kingdoms separated by a glass bridge, and the girl in the poor kingdom is trying to save her people and like save the Cinder phase, who are like, they work, like these mystical beings that work for the royal family on the other side of the glass bridge. So she basically wants to make the prince fall in love with her so she can marry him and then help save her people. And it's basically like an arranged marriage where she crosses the bridge and tries to get him to fall in love with her. And it's just the male main character, I love him so much. I love his sister. The female main character is also one of my favorites, and the fairies are literally, they're so cute, and they're just so like cool with their fire powers. And they have some characters that are also really funny. But yeah, I like really recommend this book. I love it so much. If you read it, please let me know if you like it too. It's part of a series, so this was the first book. I'm not sure when the second book comes out, but I think it's next year, so 2025. But yeah, give it a shot. It's a new fantasy book, and I feel like it's very different from the Fourth Wing hype and the Akatar. It's just a new fantasy book that I think is really underrated. Those were my top books of the year, -1. But if you read these books or give it a shot, or you have other fantasy recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about it and talk to you guys about it. And see you on the next one. Bye!